What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Monday to everyone out there. You know what that means. We are continuing schedule preview predictions for the 2021 college football season. And today, I'm going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers. Guys, we're less than a month away from the start of the season. So if you guys have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button. If you find yourself coming back, you like what you see from me, I might not provide the most accurate information. I'm just a huge fan of the sport of college football. Try to provide what I can. My thoughts on the Pittsburgh Panthers, you're going to see a little bit. If you want to provide your thoughts on the Panthers this year, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. Only thing I ask is that you be nice, mind what you say. Again, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Also, leave a like, share the videos as well. Helps push the videos out to as many people as possible. So let's talk about Pitt in 2021. So this is a team this year that, Pitt is a team that I've talked about a lot this year, right? Especially in the offseason. I've called them one of the most underrated teams coming into this year. Pitt, yes, they didn't have a great season last year, but when you go and look back at the schedule, that was a really hard schedule Pitt had to play with. There are some opt-outs that you're also going to see here in a little bit when we talk about players that are leaving this team. Overall for Pitt, though, there's a lot of talent coming back. And if you're a Panther fan out there, hey, first of all, hit that subscribe button, right, if you haven't already. But second of all, you should be pretty excited about what Pitt has this year, because although you do have a pretty tough ACC road, the rest of the schedule is fairly favorable. We'll look at the schedule in a minute. Let's take a look at some players that are leaving. Really only one notable playmaker on offense that is leaving, and that's DJ Turner. So he was a former transfer over from Maryland, now in the NFL. Wish nothing but the best to DJ Turner. I thought it was a really solid player. For Pitt, you got a couple offensive linemen going to the draft as well. But your biggest losses here are going to be on defense for sure. Yes, DJ Turner is an outstanding loss, was good for 600 yards last year, a really good wide receiver. But the losses are going to be more prevalent on defense. Now, when you look at Jalen Twyman, a guy that I believe opted out of the year last year. If not, it was the guy you're going to see over there, Rashad Weaver. But there was someone on defensive line that opted out. I cannot remember the name, so for that, I apologize. But Twyman, Weaver, Jones, all those guys on the defensive line are gone. So you're going to have to fill in some spots on the defensive line. You still have some pretty exciting players there. However, that is going to be a little bit of a point of concern. Is Pitt pretty good at stopping the run last year? How good are they going to be at stopping the run this year? We'll look at some players they have in a little bit. You also got Paris Ford, Jason Pinnock, and DeMar Hamlin. All of those in the defensive back group are gone. I've talked about Pitt usually having a pretty good defensive backing group. And all of those guys right there were guys that were huge factors in that group. So Pitt's defense might take a step back this year, but hey, it's not about what you lost. It's about what you have. We'll get to the defense in a little bit, but let's talk about the offense right now. With Kenny Pickett coming back, there is hope for Panther fans. Kenny Pickett is the ACC's most underappreciated quarterback. We know all the hype is going to go to Sam Howell, my pick to win the Heisman. Derek King, who is a really, really good quarterback. DJ Uyunglele, maybe some to Phil Jurkovec as well. Like, there are going to be other quarterbacks in the ACC that are going to get a lot more attention than Kenny Pickett. But Kenny Pickett is not a bad player. His decision-making was a little off last year. You could kind of feel that, but that was also in part to the difficult schedule that Pitt had to play last year. No, but Kenny Pickett, a very solid option at the quarterback position. I look for him to have a big year in 2021. He, I believe, threw for 3,000 yards in 2019. Again, it was just barely, but 3,000 yards, still 3,000 yards, right? And we'll look at the wide receiver position in a little bit. But Vincent Davis coming back at running back. Will he be the starter? I'd say probably. He was the starter last year. There was a running back that transferred out of Pitt, but didn't get any playing time. So Vincent Davis should still be that guy for Pitt to start at running back. If Pitt is going to be deep in any position, it's going to be the wide receiver position. 6 out of the 7 key starters last year are returning, but the 2 I just have to talk about are Jordan Addison, who really emerged last year, was the leading receiver. He played fantastic, and he kind of stepped up for the way Taysir Mack was struggling last year, right? So Taysir Mack, usually a really good wide receiver, usually that top option, kind of struggled last year. Jordan Addison, hey, no problem, I'll jump on that. I think if Taysir Mack can bounce back, Jordan Addison can continue to play in that role. Pitt is going to have some really nice things happening with their pass game. Now, the defensive side, you still have Deslin Alexander at the defensive line position, but again, who else steps up at that position, right? Linebackers, I think you're going to be fine. You got Chase Pine, Cam Bright, and Phil Campbell all coming back. And on the defensive backside, you might be slimmer than this year than most, but you still have guys like Eric Hallett and Marquise Williams, among others. So Pitt, still a very solid team. You have reason to be excited if you are a Panther fan this year. All right, here is a look at the schedule. Last year they went 6-5. That's 5-5 in the ACC. That was good for 7th in the conference. Did not play in a bowl game though. So hey, you guys know how this works. I'm talking about some games more than others because they're more interesting matchups to me, or I have a little bit more thought about them. So if the day gets highlighted in green, it's a win. If it gets highlighted in red, it is a loss. Again, this is just a preseason prediction. Things can change. Let's talk about Pitt in 2021. So they start off with a home game against UMass. Not really one of the better teams in FBS. In fact, usually one of the worst teams in FBS. I don't see much changing about UMass this year. Pitt should get a nice, easy win before they have to go on the road in Knoxville to play Tennessee. I've talked about Tennessee before, right? I don't think they're going to be that good this year. Yes, we know Josh Heupel is coming in as the head coach, and what a high-flying offense he can produce. But with a lot of the playmakers at Tennessee, especially on the offensive side, you got Eric Gray, Ty Chandler, quarterbacks transferring out. Now they know they have quarterbacks transferring in, but who steps up? Like Tennessee has all the questions in the world. Like they need guys to step up. They need guys to play better. Who's going to start at quarterback? Will the wide receiver group be the same as last year? Obviously not. Like lots of guys are transferring out. So Tennessee's got recruiting violations. They've got an investigation. Like it's a whole thing with Tennessee, right? But stepping away from all of that, yes, I don't think Tennessee's going to have a good season this year. In fact, I don't think they're going to make a bowl game. But with this Josh Heupel offense, and we've seen Pitt play them before, right? They lost to them. It was somewhere like 40-10, somewhere in there a couple years ago, I believe, or some odd years ago against the Josh Heupel offense. And then finally, though, they did beat the Josh Heupel offense, but their offense had to do a lot in that game. They beat UCF there. So Pitt maybe can provide some spark in this offense and maybe outscore Josh Heupel's offense. But I don't think it matters that the players that Josh Heupel has in this game. I think it's going to be a struggle early for Pitt to get those defensive line spots filled, to get those defensive back spots filled right out of the gate. And I've talked about before how much of a factor home field advantage is going to play this year. Yes, I don't think Tennessee is going to have a great year, but I'm going to go ahead and say Tennessee pulls off the upset here against Pitt. I really do think Tennessee can pull off this upset. I know they're losing a lot of pieces, but with this Josh Heupel offense, Pitt usually struggles against it. So while Pitt is clearly the more talented team, I am going to go ahead and predict the upset as Pitt goes on the road and loses in Knoxville to the Volunteers. All right, 2 straight home games up next for Pitt before they get into 8 straight weeks of ACC play. Home game here against Western Michigan. So for Western Michigan, a team that was pretty good some odd years ago, about half a decade ago. Of course, they went undefeated in New Year's 6. Ever since then, they've kind of fallen off. Sure, they have some solid playmakers, but I don't think it's anything that Pitt can't handle. I think Pitt goes ahead, wins this game here. Home game against New Hampshire, an FCS team. Not that great of a one at that. I think Pitt should, again, get a nice win here. So they're coming in with back-to-back wins. And I think this game here against Georgia Tech, now I know Pitt fans right now, Pitt fans and Georgia Tech fans are having some sort of feud right now, right? Right, Pitt fans? Right. Regardless, though, stepping aside from that, looking at this football game, you got to go on the road to play Georgia Tech. Home field advantage. We could see the biggest home field advantage winning, or the biggest home winning percentage we've ever seen, because fans are going to be back. Stadiums are going to be louder than ever. Everyone's going to be excited to be back. I'd predict more sellouts, especially with teams that don't usually get that much attendance. I still expect a bigger crowd than usual. Now, Georgia Tech is a team that, well, I've talked about it yesterday, right, is slowly trending in the right direction. But how long is it going to be before Georgia Tech gets up towards the top of the ACC, right? And we don't know how the ACC is going to look a year from now with the realignment. I'll do a video on that soon, I promise. I'm just trying to wait to see if any more news comes out. But when you look at this game here, Pitt, Georgia Tech. Pitt was pretty good against Georgia Tech last year. But again, Georgia Tech is going to keep steadying those improvements. I think they're going to keep getting better. I think Georgia Tech can keep this one closer than a lot of people are going to give them credit for. But Georgia Tech has a brutal schedule this year. I don't know how they're going to react to that schedule this year. Maybe they play well in some games and not well in others. It's a very tricky schedule for Georgia Tech. I'm going to go ahead and say Pitt wins this game here. I think by now they want to get their defense stuff figured out before they get into ACC play. They've seen a pretty productive offense in Tennessee. Now, of course, we don't know how productive that offense is going to be, but assuming that it's a Josh Heupel offense, they've seen that. They also have already seen it. They're prepared for it. I think their defense improves a lot up to this game, and they go ahead and beat Georgia Tech on the road. But for me, this is where the trouble starts. So you get your bye week here, and the bye week is before your biggest, your toughest 3-game stretch of the season. That's on the road at Virginia Tech, and then 2 straight home games against Clemson and Miami, 2 of the top 3 teams in the ACC. So we're going to start with this Virginia Tech game right here. Virginia Tech is a team that ever since Fuente has come over from Memphis has gotten that offense going, but it's not really been what we're used to from a Fuente offense, right? I've talked about that before. I know Virginia Tech fans say, oh, we can turn it around this year. So Hendon Hooker transferring out. It looked like they were going to go to Burmeister towards the middle of the season anyway. Can he take that next step? How does Blackshear fill in for Khalil Herbert? I know Virginia Tech also had some suspensions and opt-outs last year. So we'll see how they play with that, right? I think this can be a pretty close game. But what have I talked about before? Home field advantage, especially in a place like Blacksburg that's already hard to play. I think it's going to be even harder to play. In Pitt, I'm sorry, but I think you guys dropped this game here on the road. Virginia Tech is still going to be a solid team. Do not get me wrong. I do think Virginia Tech is going to be a solid team. I think they're going to struggle at times, but in this game here, I think that Virginia Tech going to escape with a win on their home turf. So Pitt drops to 4-2. Then you get a home game against the Clemson Tigers. I don't think Pitt fans are going to fight me about this one yet. Look, Clemson, it's their conference until someone proves them otherwise, right? Until someone else goes out and wins the ACC, there's no reason to believe on why Clemson should not win that conference. Clearly the best team in that conference. Clemson does not rebuild, they reload. Pitt, you're dropping that one. And I also think you're going to lose this game against Miami. Miami last year got so much better than I thought they were. Miami exceeded my expectations last year. I'll be honest. Now that embarrassment of a loss at North Carolina, we can scratch that off. I think Miami fans want to forget that one. But overall, this is a very solid team. One of the highest teams in returning production coming into this year, only losing Brevin Jordan. How healthy is De'Aaron King? He should be fully healthy, ready to go here the day before Halloween. Pitt, sorry, I think you're going to lose this game. So you're on a 3-game losing streak. You're going to want to bounce back. And well, this is a pretty easy bounce back game here. It is on the road against Duke. Now, Duke is not a very good team, so I think you guys will win this game. Chase Bryce is transferred again. Who starts at quarterback? Like, there's so many questions for Duke. Duke is vying for the worst team in the ACC with another team on Pitt's schedule in Syracuse. Yeah, I don't see Duke winning this one. Pitt, you guys get back in the win column before the game against North Carolina. Now, this game right here, this game I want to talk about. I'm very high on North Carolina. I really like Sam Howell. I really like what they brought in with Ty Chandler at the running back position to replace the likes of Carter and Williams. Wide receiver position, yeah, they're losing guys, but I think they're going to be fine. Defensively, they should be fine. Sam Howell's my pick to win the Heisman. In my opinion, there are very few things to not like with North Carolina. But what have we talked about before? Home field advantage. I've mentioned it at least 3 times in this video. And historically speaking, highly ranked teams, or any team for that matter, tend to struggle on the road on weekday games. And that is exactly this scenario here. Pitt coming off 3-game losing streak. They're getting a win in their previous game. At least in my opinion, they should, right? They should have no reason to lose to Duke. I'm going to go ahead and predict this upset here. I do think Pitt beats North Carolina. I think this is a huge upset. Pitt makes a bowl game here in this game. I think this is going to be an absolutely huge win for this Pitt program, and it possibly pushes North Carolina out of a playoff spot. But right, this is the classic upset scenario. On the road, short week of practice, plus that travel day, and it's on a Thursday. If it was on a Friday, it might be a little bit of a different story, but it's a Thursday game. Watch out for this one if you're North Carolina. I do have Pitt pulling off the upset here. Home game against Virginia is up next. Virginia's got to figure some things out. I think they can still be a solid team in the ACC. But overall, I do just think Pitt going to be a better team, especially coming off that win there against North Carolina. They're going to have time to settle down, get all that upset energy out, right? Oh my God, we just upset North Carolina. Okay, time to calm down. We still got 2 more games left on the schedule. I think you guys win this game here against Virginia. I definitely think you're more talented than the Cavaliers, should win the game. And then a road game against the Syracuse Orange. So Syracuse, a team too that, well, might be vying for the worst spot in the ACC. Yeah, I know it's in the Carrier Dome, but Pitt, you should still win that game, in my opinion. So with that, 4 games highlighted in red, I have Pitt going 8-4 this year. And I'm thinking that most people are going to agree with me on that one. The best case scenario I see is 9-3. Look, you're playing the 3 best teams in the ACC, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina. The trick is you get all of them at home. So I feel like you're going to win at least one of those games. And in my opinion, North Carolina is that most likely win, not based on talent, but based on just when the game is being played and where the game is being played. So I feel like North Carolina is the best shot to upset a team at home. You got a lot of road games you got to watch out for. Tennessee, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, possibly even Syracuse. Now, you do get the 2 worst teams in the ACC on the road, so that's a big plus. You can see why this schedule is pretty favorable for Pitt this year, although that worst case scenario I do see being 5-7 if this team just falls downhill, if they can't recover from their defensive losses, and if their offense just can't click like it did last year. I see that as being the absolute worst case scenario. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it as my thought on the Pitt Panthers. I have them going 8-4. Let me know what you guys think about Pitt down in the comment section below. Again, leave a like, subscribe, share the videos as well. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder tomorrow. Again, continuing schedule preview predictions. We're going to look at the Maryland Terrapins. So Maryland up tomorrow. See y'all then. Goodbye.